Welcome to the Cyber AI Chronicles podcast presented by Digital Edge, where strategy meets security and trust empowers growth. My name is Stacey Jennifer, and I'm your host for today's episode. Hello, we are here today with Annette Fontana and John Rodriguez from IndependTech, and we will be talking about Cybersecurity 101. So thank you guys for being here. If you want to briefly introduce yourselves before we dive in.
John, I'm going to let you go first.
Well, let me go first, huh? Well, John Rodriguez, running about 20 years worth of experience in the financial services technology realm, spanning pretty much every aspect of tech that you can think of, all the way up to and through security. And started IndependTech to bring those services to a broader population and not just limit it to the to the larger firms. And with that, created IndependTech with my partner and friend and colleague Annette Fontana, who will introduce herself next.
Thanks, John. So yes, I'm Annette Fontana. I have over 25 plus at this point, probably 26 plus years in information security. Started as a business information security officer for a major financial institution. We won't mention names right now. And became the voice of the people, because where my world was dealing with financial planners and investors and whatnot, at the time, I was dealing with the little guy and what they needed. It expanded, and through time and trial, I ended up working for John initially in another company, and unfortunately corrupted his mind with the need for regulations and policies. And when the opportunity to come join him as a partner at IndependTech, I couldn't say no. It is an opportunity for me to do what I love most. Helping the people who don't get the kind of education and assistance that they need in these types of businesses, get it, and I'll say affordably, because we know how much the big companies charge, or get charged or pay the price for, and the little guy doesn't have that. So I am impassioned about this, as you can tell. And I just love what I do, which is probably a misnomer in the world today, but I truly love what I do. Just a level of crazy.
Yeah, and probably my introduction, I don't need an introduction because I'm kind of running this podcast, but I want to say that it's very important to bring perspective of different cybersecurity professionals to the community. And it's interesting to hear all the aspects. So let's go. Tell us your perspective, your unique perspective.
I'll go first.
Yeah,
and it's like I said in my introduction, I think the larger industries get a lot of easier access to the type of tools and systems, and in my particular perspective, education and awareness on what goes on with the world of cybersecurity. And it becomes a thing where the little guy basically doesn't have that opportunity. I mean, the real hard truth is that small to medium-sized businesses, they don't have the availability of the type of things that we have. It's a liability for them. I mean, we're talking about real breaches and real consequences. 43 now, because I'm a numbers girl, 43% of all cyber attacks target small businesses these days, more often than not. 60% of them usually get a cyber attack and go out of business inside of 6 months. And it really comes down to them being educated. An average cost for a data breach in general for a small business can be up to $3 million. And I don't know a lot of businesses that have that kind of cash on hand to cover their expenses. And I mean, we can just talk, not even talking numbers, let's talk about, functionality. If they have to shut down their systems for at least an hour, they're losing $8,000 of opportunity for business. So it's not just an IT problem, it becomes a survival issue.
If I could give our perspective, so I'll do two perspectives today only. So perspective number one, what we say is that defending your company is almost like defending a fort. And imagine you have weapons, because cybersecurity tooling is a weapons. And you buy cannons, you buy cannonballs, powder, whatever it is. But if you don't train your garrison, it would be just, stockpile of ammo and no skills. But at the same time, if you don't have money for fancy weaponry, but you have trained people, you can defend your fort, because yes, you build your walls, maybe not from the very good materials or latest ammo, but your team would be trained, and
Right.
you can easily defend your small fort. So that's what we are talking about. So one of the perspective is your education, is training of your troops is even more important than the weaponry that you're using to defend your fort. So knowledge and organizational processes are much more important than what kind of ammo you're using.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it turns into an car analogy incoming. So fair warning. It comes down to the synergy or the combination of those two, right? The car analogy is you can take the safest car on the road and put an extremely inexperienced and reckless driver behind it, and it is a road hazard. Or you can take the best driver in a poorly maintained car, and it's not going to be great. It's not going to be safe, but it's actually less likely for there to be an issue or an incident in that combination. So, yeah, to your analogy of the soldiers in the garrison, you would rather spend the time on training if you had to choose one or the other. It is of longer and more robust value to spend your time on training people versus inert objects, right?
Here to reinforce this message, the thing is that if you look at the military, and again, I'm giving military examples because I have like a military background. I was an officer in my previous life. But if you look at code of conduct, military code of conduct, and the responsibility of garrison commander, it would never say that responsibility of garrison commander is to defend your fort no matter what, because forces could be more advanced, or you don't have enough finances. So, but his responsibility is to organize defenses, to train your troops, and biggest thing is to organize processes, organize shifts, organize of training. So in the military world, it's organization of defense rather than be responsible for defending it no matter what. So main responsibility is to train the troops, to architect defenses, to architect processes of defense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that works out. The translation of that into the tech world, aside from the vehicular comparison there, it is as we were saying, technology gets to the point that it commoditizes. That's just the natural trend, right? It used to be back in the days of warehouses worth of servers, all constituting about 1 gig of storage space in a whole warehouse. From there, that were millions of dollars per gig, and now it's storage is a simple example of commoditization. And we have, what is it, more compute power in an iPhone than NASA had to to land the what is it, the lunar module. So the point of the matter is that the technology has become commoditized, and that's just the natural tendency of it. The big guys, the big firms, government, et cetera, are the ones that can afford the big and sophisticated toys. As that becomes, we're using the word commoditized, those tools, that is the cannonballs and the cannons and the gunpowder, all becomes more and more available to the smaller enterprises, to the smaller businesses, at some point even to the individual. What doesn't seem to have much of a pathway, as far as I can tell, is the training on how to use those now commoditized products. And that's, again, speaking to the importance of training, the importance of knowing, again, the smaller and even the personal businesses, not only knowing that those tools are now available for them, but also how to use them and how to use them appropriately.
That's a big thing, especially in what I do, especially for IndependTech in the communication awareness and training, because a lot of our clients for the longest time, and the general public who are small to medium businesses, think that they're too small to be a target. But
Right.
that's a bad actor's dream. That is the one that they are going to know that are going to lack the resources and defenses that larger companies have. And that makes them easier to exploit. And that's where the Cybersecurity 101 started to evolve with us back in the former company where I used to work with John. We realized that our independent financial professionals in the organization did not understand that with some simple, small steps, they would be able to have that extra line of defense. Yes, to a certain point, the company itself can provide certain IT support and IT protection, but it's limited, especially when you're talking about independent business professionals. You're not given access, you're not given access into their systems on a regular basis. You're not given the opportunity to provide them with the kind of tools that we know would be better for them to use. Instead of, and I'm going to say a couple of brand names that are going to make John's skin crawl, Norton or McAfee. While they're good, you see him shaking already, while they're good, they aren't enough. And there's other things that need to happen. And that's where we created Cyber 101, or, and we did it against the philosophy that I'm sure you guys know of security hygiene.
Yeah, looking for the combination of simple and understandable for the quote unquote civilian population, the non-techs, and simple meaning not overwhelming, and also simple as in something that they could follow. And ultimately, the goal, the point is to be able to bring humans toward the tech and how the tech needs to be used enough, but not making every single person a tech or a technologist. That's nobody wants that, quite honestly. Technologists don't want this. But also simultaneously bringing the technology up toward the user with increased usability, and finding out where that edge meets. That's been kind of really our favorite endeavor or direction.
Can I give a very quick example of an attack on a small person or a small company? Because I think it reinforces that message here. People think, oh, I'm small, like nobody cares about. So a one-person lawyer, a company that does real estate transactions. So typical way of kind of like a hacking into that person's email, invisible rule, forward all the emails to some Gmail account. They were basically monitoring one conversation. Then they disabled. Then they saw how home sale deal for one specific person. They blocked any like outgoing or incoming messages from that person. Completely took over the conversation, and they basically said that deal is ready, send deposit to this account for the closing.
Yep.
So basically, the lawyer didn't hear anything, didn't know anything, and then that lawyer received a call. So when is the closing? And the lawyer was like, "What closing? Like papers are not ready, nothing is ready." And the buyer was like, "Yeah, I sent 250K to that account as a deposit." So 250K in a loss that is not insured, not whatsoever, small,
Right.
and could be avoided if the lawyer would know how to like verify things. Whatever, we could discuss it later. But I'm saying that's this small perception, maybe not small at all.
I actually kind of remember, I couldn't give you dates, but I could remember before it got scaled down, it being the attacks, it being the threats. And a lot of that, the news is going to give you the big headlines, right? The big numbers. and a $250,000 for a real estate firm or a real estate transaction, it's a lot of money, but it doesn't really hit the headlines. Not like 8 million, not like 14 million, something like that. But the attackers managed to scale down, realizing that it's easier. If it's easier to hit the smaller ones that aren't expecting it, then guess what? Yeah, a $250,000 for, a couple of weeks worth of work. I would take that if I only had the moral issue.
From my personal experience, FBI would not take a deal if damages under $500,000. They wouldn't even consider it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And I mean, you bring up a great example, Mike. One of the ones that that we've talked about recently, actually, there was a tiny law firm, and I can't remember. I want to say this was last year. I'm not sure. And they clicked on a fake DocuSign document because they're used to getting DocuSigns all the time, and they figured it was just part of the process. And knowing something as simple as how to put your cursor over it to see if the email is legitimate, they didn't think of. They ended up paying not only $25,000 because of ransomware that they were just cyber secured, and locked down for this, but they ended up having to pay another $40,000 in recovery costs. It's ridiculous. And then, we hear about it, like retail chains, they decide, oh, you know what? It's busy. It's the holidays. I'm not updating the system software. Well, guess what? They got hit with a data breach, and it cost them in the same amount as the real estate firm, about $200,000.
Yeah, the first one that I remember that was Home Depot. When they got hit hard, however many years ago, it's over a decade ago now, I think. Right. They were running Windows 7, I think.
Yeah.
And that was outdated at the time. They literally made the choice to not update whatever these systems were, point of sale, whatever they were. And they got tagged. And well, that's the difference here. And bringing back to the whole emphasis on the small businesses, Home Depot's still around. Home Depot's still profitable. Home Depot's fine, just like Target. Just like, we could probably rattle off a few other big names that have hit the news and the stock price drops a little bit and people, curse them out and then they're back. I don't want to say it's too big to fail. That's a little bit of kind of a sinful thing to say, but they're big enough that most people just kind of don't care. The small business, your main streets, your local, not even just neighborhood, but just regional businesses, they are kind of ultimately at higher risk, because once something like that happens and hits them hard enough, their recovery is it's not going to be as smooth. It might not be at all.
And I'm going to say, we come from a financial industry background, obviously, but in this business, we have looked into other industries because we, in our philosophy, want to help everyone. The damages that we have seen between automotive industries, small car dealerships, the pizza chain, and other companies like that, especially local community companies, which even if they get the, here's the newest tool and whatnot, they don't know how to implement them, or they're not using that tool to the fullest of its capacity.
So what is your angle? What is your solution? How do you help people? How is your, what is your help?
Okay. Well, first off, we're a two-pronged business here. We, first off, make sure you're using the right tools for your business. If you're a small business, you don't need to think like you're a major conglomerate as far as the cost of your tools, but you should have at least a similar level of security. And that gets into the security hygiene, making sure that their multi-factor authentication is enacted. That's a big one. A lot of people just click past that MFA and enter their password. We are a big believer in that extra layer. It's like putting the padlock on the jar of cookies so that your bratty little brother can't get at it. It's one of those things. It's an extra layer of protection. Can it be inconvenient at times? Absolutely, because you're in a rush. Nobody wants to stop and have to type in something or get a passcode sent to them and enter it or whatnot. But those extra seconds put that extra barrier in front of the fort.
There's a great line that I heard somewhere, I shared it, was when somebody asks their dentist, which teeth should I floss? The answer is, well, you don't have to floss any of your teeth. You just floss the ones you want to keep. So when it comes to your online accounts, you don't have to MFA any of them. Just MFA the ones that you want to keep the bad actors out of, which is pretty much all of them, obviously.
Now, this is where John and I have a little bit of a difference of opinion. My attitude, because being raised in information security and I've lived it my entire life, rule number one I was taught was always be paranoid. So I locked that stuff down on everything. I have heard people that use the same password.
Oh, don't get me started on passwords.
Yes, we're going to start on passwords. And all they do is change a number at the end or change a capital, and it's like, if you're going to be that persistent in keeping that password, put a MFA over it.
And that brings up actually a point that's interesting. Not a lot of people think about this. I mean, and by not a lot of people, I mean certainly not the civilians out there, but even a lot of the technologists that I've encountered through the years, when technologies, whether it's passwords or MFAs, but let's stick with passwords, which are the oldest model, if you will, of security, they tend to be developed and tend to be created from the inside and then spread out to the users. It's not a user-centric solution. It is a tech-centric solution. So what comes easy to technologists doesn't necessarily come easy to the users, let alone once you're talking about, grandma and grandpa or whoever that's out there in the world, your general public. So and we all have, a good time ripping on, folks that have the exact same password everywhere. But the truth of the matter is, it's unfair because we have been giving people, the tech industry, have been giving people essentially wrong advice of, unique passwords everywhere and make them super complex. And what is it? They have to include a hieroglyph and, and a haiku kind of joke. That's just not sustainable for the average human being, for the average mortal. That's not what we're here for, to learn, 50, 100, 200 sequences of random pieces of information. We're not good at that. Password managers, are the solution to that. And they are the management solution. They don't solve the problem, they manage the problem.
Yeah, I when I talk to our clients about this, I hearken password management to like a vault. Everything you want to keep safe, you put in the vault. And then the vault protects it because the password management system puts out the Fort Knox level encryption style password to allow access to it. So it's, your password may be only 16 characters, but once you have a password management system engaged to that online system, it now creates 36 or more characters and makes it far more difficult for somebody to try to get into whatever system you have protected.
Point of the matter is, you don't care what your password is. For
Right.
funsies, I like to throw it up to like 120 some odd characters long, just for fun.
Yeah,
because I don't have to remember it. That's what the system does. I only have to remember the one password to that management system.
I want to say something that on technology, like very heavy lifters on the technology side. So there is a possible solution. The protocol is called FIDO2. Take a look under this podcast. We will reference to another podcast that me and Stacey recorded about FIDO2 protocol. The idea is that basically you install something like Authenticator on your phone. The idea is that it would have private keys, and let's say you integrate it with login with your like Office 365 login or Gmail or whatever it is. So the thing is that the challenge would go to your application, and when you receive it, so this is something that you have, and also it would require you either like fingerprint or you need to open it so you know the device. So technically, even though it feels like this is like one-factor authentication, it's two, because First of all, that's something that you have and you configure to reply. And second is your either face or fingerprint or your key. So it's almost like, like now people, some e-commerce websites, they don't even ask you like user password, or like, I know Verizon big on it. Like, for example, you try to log in and they will push notification to your phone and you would say yes. So these type of new authentications, they will not require passwords at all. And it gives like a little bit of a challenge, but the thing is that it's totally removed that vector of attack. Nobody can steal your password. Nobody can pick up password. You cannot even like do spray attack or brute force attacks. Right. And this is like, it's a little bit challenging to implement it, but that could be a good solution when everybody will slowly switch to that. And again, look at the comments, and we will link to that podcast.
That's good. That's actually a perfect example of the advanced, big boys research type of deal, and that's, as that spreads, it becomes commoditized. In the same way that MFA used to be, your good old-fashioned SMS code MFA, it was difficult to implement at first, and then now it's a cakewalk for pretty much any website to implement it. So again, that's I love seeing that, because that is that commoditization of the good stuff, right? Making the tech easy to access and easy to use.
I like a few of your kind of like analogies. Is like, okay, nobody cares about what password it is as long as it's yours. So it doesn't matter what authentication is as long as it's your face or your fingerprint or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm sure it will be challenges. It will be some vulnerabilities in that system, but we slowly go into, as you say, it was like a technology-centric solution to a user-centric solution.
The switch in the security edge from network edge and how it's moved in the past, again, I want to say 5, 10 years, maybe 7 years, how it's moved into identity, that especially with 365 and cloud and Google Suite type of offerings, the not to say the firewall is dead, because it still has obviously its uses, but my observation is that a lot of your small businesses that just don't have much going on inside the local area network, there's not much to defend inside those walls, inside the network walls. What matters more is the identity. That is, that's not my phrase, but yeah, the identity becoming the border is really interesting, and that has elevated the authentication models and the demands for authentication being accurate quite a bit, right, in the past few years. Again, I want to say 5 or 7 years.
It's not like a firewall to me, and this is like second perspective that I wanted to bring to that conversation, as I promised in the beginning. So it's always like your frontal defense when people are trying to hack in to you. And your frontal defense, it's like a shield, these 300 like Greek, Spartans, whatever. They have like shields, and that shield could be your identity, it could be your firewall, it could be your commercial website that people can try to penetrate from outside. And it's so you could get breached if there is a crack in that shield, whatever that shield is, or it could be attacked from the within. So it's someone would make a mistake or do it on purpose or click on that link. So we always thinking, okay, this is our shield, and it come from outside or from inside. Right. So identity or not identity, it's a human factor that is behind this technological shield is very important. This is my second and last perspective for this communication.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It makes sense.
It harkens back to that user versus tech. A shield by itself does nothing. A shield with properly trained Spartans with their 6-pack abs and slow motion attacks, they're the ones that make things happen.
I need to make that image.
There you go.
This is Sparta.
So that's the 300 were the 300 because they were highly trained and had the right equipment.
and that was the point I was trying to get across before. Employees and being trained and being educated and being aware, that is their first line of defense. And it can also be the first point of failure, to your point, Mike. Without regular training, without regular awareness, they're more likely to fall for a phishing scam or any kind of mishandled data. So it's my pleasure, literally, to educate these people.
Was it like into the 90s and into the first part of the 2000s? It was known as, and now it's kind of a passé thing to say, but the age of information. Well, I guess information superhighway, that's the passé phrase, but the age of information. And I think this is not my unique idea. I heard it from somewhere. We're past the age of information. Like, information is just easy to come by. One could say we're into the age of misinformation, but more importantly, I think, and more accurately, this is not the age of information now. We're in the age of trust. Mm-hmm. That is way more valuable than information. You can get information everywhere. It's a dime a dozen. Where you're getting it, can you trust that information? Can you trust the identity? Can you trust the people contacting you on Facebook, whoever's even left using Facebook? It's trust. And that, to me, is the really kind of the highest value currency today in business is trust.
Cardinal rule number 2 in information security: trust, but verify.
Verify. That's right.
And that is a key thing. Yeah, there's his rant.
Every single time there was some kind of incident, regardless of how it happened, click a bad link, take a scam phone call, whatever. A component of the resolution of that, and that goes in the report and it's scheduled and tracked and whatever else, is let's get you some training. And it doesn't mean sit you down in front of a 45-minute painfully slow and generic, Peanuts parents type sounding, presentation. No, it has to be interactive, and the goal truly is to make it understood to the audience, to the recipient of that training, that it's not just for business. You might be getting it through business and in the context of business, but it works at home. Spread the word to your parents, spread the word to your aunt and uncle, and don't pick up the phone. Take these skills with you, because it's really part of living in modern life.
I'm gonna jump in here, because when John talks about having those engaging trainings, humble brag, we actually in the previous life were linked with KnowBe4. We used their training. We did weekly phishing tests and so on and so forth.
Weekly. I got yelled at for that.
Yeah, he got yelled at for being weekly.
Are you crazy?
People complain that you're doing it again. Well, yeah, but here's the result of that.
Again.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly.
In fact, when someone complained, it'd be like, you know what? I might have to add you to another list, and now you're gonna get 2 of them a week.
2 of them a week, right? Yeah. So we just punished the hell out of them. Yeah. But no, we didn't really do that. But what we did do, it's kind of like a 2-prong approach. First off, if we saw somebody who was consistently failing the test, even if it was something like a simple fish test,
the simulated phishing,
we sat them down and basically said, and forgive the way I'm going to say this because it's not how I approached it, but what aren't you getting? Or more proactively, what is the draw that is making you click on this? Because then we can address it appropriately.
I don't know, I just work here.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I won't mention the name of the person, but there is a friend of ours who consistently would message John and curse him because she would always receive, right, not today, Rodriguez, because she would always receive these T-shirt ads or something, because what would happen is
relevant to what she was doing.
Right, it was very relevant to what she was connected to. So she got caught a couple of times. Yeah, no, it's coming from me. It's not. But it was kind of catching her, and like the first couple of times she clicked on it, and she'd get mad. She didn't blame me, thank God. She blamed
Actually,
him.
the first
So-
one.
Such an
I think she
interesting
just I
comment,
think she
but
just failed on the
definitely-
first one. I think she just clicked on
She
the first
failed
one,
on the
and then
first.
she
She
made
failed on
such
the
a
first
fuss
one.
about it. And
Right,
then,
and then every
we
single
had
time
fun.
after that, she would get them. Now, the funny thing is, we found out that she was actually getting real fishes that were similar
Mhm.
to the test. So she would yell at John, literally,
Yeah,
again, not today,
forward them over to
Rodriguez, you
me.
quit me. And then John be like, what are you talking about?
And you know what? At the end of the day, my sentiment was, I'm sure you can predict it, is cool. You be as
Cool.
be as mad as you want at me all day long, so long as you're not clicking on it.
Exactly.
Because if it makes you aware of it, if it makes you second guess before clicking something, just take a breath.
Yep.
Success.
And here's the best part about that whole scenario. First off, our fish clicking rate, the click rate on anybody who went
Mhm.
down to less than 20% every single month. I think the lowest we had was 8%.
No, we went even
And
lower than that.
We were lower than that? Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
and
we got down to like sub 6, sub 5.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
we were
that's
actually
right, that
below
one
industry.
right
Very
after
interesting
COVID.
subjects in the email.
So
Yeah.
so we were very proud of that. And the second thing that happened, it happened more, and this is stuff that came to me more, was I was receiving phone calls from the financial professionals, from our corporate staff, saying, Annette, I saw this link, so I reported it. And it doesn't look like a regular email fish that you guys send out. So can you check it out? And a good portion of those were actual attempts. So we were able to lock it down, diagnose it and clean it up. So we had our people thinking proactively, and that was a big kick for this with us. The training and awareness is one thing, because we all been victim of it, where it gets to a point that you feel your eyes rolling in the back, right? That again, that Peanuts teacher adult thing, and your eyes roll in your back of your head. But the best part about this was that they got it. And not only did they get it, they wanted to help. And that just thrilled me no end.
And they take it home. And actually,
Yeah,
to this
and share
day,
it with
even,
the family.
to
Yep.
this day, even folks that are no longer employed or whatever, moved on to different areas or whatever, they kept that with them. Like it just became part of them. They saw the vision, so to speak. And that's where, again, I go back to the car analogies. It's learning how to drive. Once you learn strategies, the whys and the hows of safe, safe driving behind the wheels, whatever, distance drive, all that good stuff. It doesn't matter what you're driving or where you're driving. You're going to apply those same lessons because it becomes embedded. It becomes a part of you. That's one of my favorite things. Like I would love it when people would come back and say, "Oh man, you made me super paranoid about all email." Good. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. So I am proud of you. I got a kick out of that.
We had a great joy with that. One of the things that we do on a regular basis, even now, is we create videos that we've shared, training videos about these things, and how if you watch it, you're laughing because we're ridiculously silly on this thing, but the lesson gets into your head. My favorite reminisce, and John, just deal with it because I'm going to talk about it for the 10,000th time, is we were attending a conference where we had to present. Yes, we had to present information security basics to some of our clients, to our financial professionals. And and being creative and being the creative side of this, we talked about the bad guys. So we wanted to make clear, bad guys aren't these super villains behind clear touch screens working out, the destruction of the universe. And of course, the last image in our presentation for that segment was a picture of Darth Vader. And it was the ultimate bad guy. So Q, our information security associate, cues the Imperial Death March. The Imperial March from the Galactic Empire.
Otherwise known as
And-
Vader's theme, oftentimes, yeah.
Yes, and out comes the gentleman on the screen with me, dressed as what I'd like to call a Temu version of Darth Vader.
Yep. Ghetto Vader.
But with a really nice lightsaber in his hand. And then we interact, and I'm like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, bad guy. What are, I'm like, well, yeah, but, that's a little over the top.
And as it turns out, I ended up flubbing the lines, and it didn't go well. But the point of the matter is that whole presentation engaged people and entertained and kept them not just awake, but actually there and absorbing the information, and made it less intimidating. It really illustrated the hunger, and there's a hunger and there's a need for that kind of training, not just for the information, but the information delivered in a useful way.
So what's very important is that today companies are saying, oh, we need a training, let's find a training, push the video, people say, yeah, I saw the video, bum. So we had situation recently when someone did something wrong that is like against policies, against everything, and we detected it, we resolved, like smack the guy a little bit and like, listen, you need the training. He's like, no, I had this training like a week ago. He had this training a week ago, and week after he did the same thing that he was, what is the effectiveness? And the training is like half hour. So maybe a pitch is, listen, I'll deliver my training in 3 minutes, and I'll just yell, you stupid, don't do it.
That would save a bit of time.
It would be more effective than 20, 30 minutes video, boring, whatever. So I think it's very important what you do.
And that was our point with this. And it started a trajectory of us doing similar things like this that talked about all these different subjects, giving, and you all know it. When you sit there and somebody's spouting statistics at you, even like the ones I did, if you just was listening to somebody drone on about that, your brain goes numb.
Yeah, you disconnect.
Yeah, and that's why one of the big things about when we present, when we do awareness for our people, it needs to be engaging, because they're not there to be bored, even though they think they're going to be. They're there to be educated and made aware and have questions. Question us on everything. We would love to talk about it.
It's the fundamental foundation, I hate to double F that, to aligning security directives, direction, and aligning that with the business, with the people, with the individuals, instead of creating what is usually out there, and that's this antagonistic relationship between the business and security. That's just not going to get you anywhere. We all have to be in the same boat, facing the same direction, rowing together. That's the only way that we're going to make it through the storm, so to speak. And so that's what we're all about.
So it sounds like we covered a lot in this conversation, how
we
it's
didn't even
important
scratch the surface.
I'm sure, yeah. Because really all we kind of spoke about was how it's important to not only have like the fancy gadgets, but it's even more important to, train your, not just employees, but everybody to know what to expect and how to defend yourself and what to not click. And then, even going into how to train people. Yeah, it sounds like you both, John and Annette, have done so much work in that field, have so much experience and knowledge. And thank you so much for being here and sharing it. I think that we would love to have you back in the future to talk more on this subject.
We would definitely enjoy that. And like I said, unfortunately, one of the things you get with us is a little bit of rambling here and there. So we'd be more than happy to talk about. We'd be more than happy to talk about, other things that we talk into the world of what we consider the Cybersecurity 101. If you don't mind, I just want to wrap up. But first off, thank you both so much for having us. And if I'm going to leave anybody with a final thought, cybersecurity doesn't have to be complicated and it doesn't have to be expensive, but it does have to be intentional, because for small businesses, the basics, like we talked about, MFA, password management, phishing awareness, other things that we didn't talk about, like protecting your technology and software updates, these aren't just best practices, they're business essentials. So it's always good to remember that in today's world, doing nothing is going to be your most expensive option of all. And, that's my point about this. So.
I appreciate the opportunity. It's as you can tell, as you pointed out. Yeah, we'll talk about this until we're blue in the face. It's important, and it's nice to have something to say that that can help and that can benefit pretty much anybody. Like I said, this is the kind of topics and the kind of things that should be taught in school. I won't go into a rant again. But so pretty much any time we enjoy these opportunities.
Please, we would enjoy the opportunity, and we obviously love talking to you guys.
Let's keep our Spartan cybersecurity shields up.
Yes. Sure. That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
I'll start working on my 6-pack, and that way, I'll be like, we'll be ready.
All right. Yes.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
We're not here to add to the noise. We're here to help you lead with clarity, security, and confidence. Thank you for listening, and subscribe to catch up on all of our future episodes.